alone on Valentine's Day. She never expected this CEO's shocking offer that changed everything. The evening was thick with a buzz of unchanged lives. Couples roamed the streets, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in one lonely corner of the city. Judith sat in her dimly lit apartment, the flickering light of her old television casting shadows on her face. She clutched her phone tightly, heart racing, each vibration a reminder of her solitude. Outside, it seemed like the world was wrapped up in love, but for Judith, every kiss felt like a sickening reminder of everything she wanted. Little did she know that as she scrolled through her messages, half-hearted Tinder dates, and Happy Valentine's Day, wishes her life was about to take a turn so unexpected, it would leave her gasping for breath. A suddenly loud knock echoed through her empty living room, shattering the chilling silence. Startled, Judith shot up from her couch, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. Who could it be? Her mind flicked through possibilities. Friends? No, they all had plans. The pizza delivery guy? No pizza was on the way. She slowly turned her head toward the door, fear curling in her gut. The knocking came again, harder this time, resonating as if it was calling on some unseen power. A wave of curiosity washed over her, mixed with a deep-seated dread. Yes, she cautiously opened the door. She was met with an unbelievable sight. Standing there in a tailored suit was Nathan Gray, the elusive CEO of Gray Enterprises. His reputation was as striking as his appearance, a genius of wealth, a titan of industry. The man was known for his charm and ruthlessness, and yet here he was, standing on her doorstep, eyeing her with an intensity that sent chills racing down her spine. "Can I come in?" he asked, his voice smooth yet laced with an undercurrent of urgency. Yes, of course, she stammered, confusion swirling within her. She stepped aside, mind racing, heart thrumming faster with each heartbeat. This was no ordinary visit. It felt monumental, life-altering even. As he entered, the air thickened, charged with a strange electricity. He was even more imposing up close. Judith couldn't help but notice the small scar above his brow, giving him an air of danger, a sense of mystery darker than the approaching night. What on earth could he want with her? What did she have that a man like him could possibly need? Before she could utter a word, he spoke up, his eyes piercing through her. "I have an opportunity for you, one that could change everything." His words hung in the air, heavy with promise and peril. "But first, I need you to trust me." Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Judith felt a lump in her throat. Trust? She hardly knew him. Yet here he stood, cloaked in mystery, his presence drawing her in like a moth to a flame. She could feel the tension building, wrapping around her like a thick fog. What kind of offer could he possibly have for her? The room felt stifling, the kind of silence that felt both intimate and terrifying. She could hear her own heartbeat, each thud echoing the gravity of the moment. Just as those thoughts swirled like a tornado in her mind, Nathan leaned closer, his voice a whisper that sent electricity down her spine. "I need you to be ready for anything." And with that, the door to her ordinary life creaked open, revealing shadows of the extraordinary, of the unknown, leaving her standing on the threshold of change, wondering if she would dare take that leap. What could a man like him possibly want from a woman like her? Would she step forward into danger or retreat back into the mundane? The answers hung there, just out of reach, beckoning her into the dark. Judith felt the weight of Nathan's gaze deepening the air around them. She stood frozen, her mind racing, trying to comprehend the implications of his words. What did he mean by ready for anything? Her eyes searched his, but all she found was a storm waiting to break. "Mr. Gray," she began, but he raised a hand to silence her. "Please, call me Nathan," he said, his tone softening just a touch, though the urgency never left his eyes. "I know this is unexpected, but I need someone I can trust. I have a crucial deal in the works, and it's becoming perilous. People are watching me, and I need a partner." "Partner?" The word felt heavy on her tongue, laden with implications she couldn't yet grasp. "You must have the wrong person. I'm just a regular woman." She could feel her pulse quicken as her insecurities bubbled up. What could she possibly offer a man like him? "Nobody's regular, Judith," he replied, stepping into her space, the scent of his cologne invading her senses. "You might not see it yet, but you have a strength that could be incredibly valuable. Out on my research, you're smart, independent, and you aren't afraid to speak your mind. That's rare." "Research?" She recoiled, her heart racing with a mix of fear and indignation. "What do you mean you've done research?" A flicker of something dark haunted Nathan's expression. "This isn't a game to me. I'm in deep trouble, and I need someone who can take this risk with me. Please, just listen." Judith's stomach twisted as a realization settled in. She was standing at the precipice of something life-altering. She felt completely out of her depth. "What kind of trouble?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper against the hum of the city behind him. He sighed, his gaze flickering to the window as if seeking clarity from the night. "Let us just say that there are rivals who want to see me fail. They think I'm too powerful. For some, the stakes are life or death. I can't do this alone." As that sunk in, a knot of panic tightened in Judith's chest. The thought of being wrapped up in corporate warfare, in a fight she didn't choose, made her skin crawl. "And how do you plan on involving me in all this?" "Your charm and intellect are crucial, Judith. We need to gather intel, sway public opinion, and show them that we're in control. They want to see you coming. The world of business is full of shadows and whispers, and we can be ghosts in their midst." Judith fought the urge to bolt. She had always considered herself an ordinary person, not one of Nathan's high-stakes world. Yet, as she looked into his eyes, filled with a determination that pulsed with raw intensity, something shifted within her. "What isn't it for me?" she finally asked, desperate to anchor herself amidst the chaos. "A taste of power, the thrill of the unknown, a chance to redefine yourself. I'm offering you unprecedented access to a world you've only seen through a screen." The promise in his words held an undeniable pull, like a siren-esque call. She hesitated, fear fighting against an unexpected thrill. Could she really step into this life? Could she reclaim herself through the danger he offered? "Take a moment," Nathan urged softly, reading her expression. "You have till the end of this night to decide. But know this, your life will never be the same once you step through this door." As he said that, shadows flickered outside her window, silhouettes moving past. The buzzing city life seemed to fade, replaced by the growing tension between them. Could she trust him? And what awaited her if she did? The choice loomed large in her mind, a crossroad standing firm in the night. Would she sink back into the life she knew, filled with loneliness, or could she dare to leap into the unknown? The fire in her heart pushed her closer to the edge. "Do you believe in fate, Judith?" Nathan suddenly asked, his voice barely above a murmur. Before she could respond, a blaring siren echoed through the night, pulling her thoughts into chaos. She turned to look out the window, heart racing yet again. What was that? Nathan's expression hardened with concern. "The moment shattering. We may not have much time. Choosing to help me may not only change your reality, it might just save your life." No sooner had he finished speaking than a shadow crossed the street outside, a figure lingering, watching. Judith's breath caught, realization dawning that this was only the beginning. Who was the watcher? What danger approached, uninvited? The night had only just begun to unravel its secrets. The atmosphere thickened, the city humming with an energy that felt like an electric current coursing through the air. Judith's heart pounded louder than the siren that had erupted, drowning out the usual sounds of the bustling streets. "Judith, look at me," Nathan insisted, breaking her moment of frozen panic. His voice was low and intense, drawing her back to the reality standing between them. This is bigger than you can imagine. We can't afford distractions. She tried to focus on him, on his words, but there was unease pressing against her. A chill ran down her spine, reminding her of the figure lurking outside. "Who is out there?" she asked, glancing nervously away from him, her instincts on high alert. "What do you mean, rivals?" Nathan moved to the window, his silhouette a sharp contrast against the dim city lights. He peered through the glass, scanning the street. It could be anyone. People I owe, or worse, people who owe me. All it takes is a moment of weakness, and they strike. Judith's stomach lurched. There was a dangerously alluring thrill in Nathan's eyes, but the weight of reality pressed against her shoulders. "And you think I can help you against? What? Corporate thugs? Not just thugs. This is a world where luck and power collide in the shadows," he replied, still watching through the window. "They want my business, and they do anything to ruin me." That slick assurance he typically radiated now felt shaky. Had she been drawn into something larger than herself? "What can I do?" she blurted, the words spilling out before she could think consequences that a brief flicker of relief crossed Nathan's face as he turned back to her. "See? You're already showing promise. We need to play smart. Let me lead you through this process." "Led?" Judith echoed, her voice tinged with disbelief. "I don't know a thing about this life, Nathan. Are you sure I want to just drown?" "We're in this together," he said, stepping closer. The warmth radiating from him was visceral, contrasting sharply with the cold horror creeping up her spine. "But we need to act fast. That figure outside, what if they're one of these competitors?" she asked, her breath hitching. "Then it's time to make our move," Nathan asserted. The conviction in his voice sent a shiver of excitement through her. He pulled out his phone, darting a glance back at the spectator outside before tapping furiously on the screen. "We need to draw them in, show them we're not afraid." Judith watched him, a wave of urgency cascading over her. "Wait, what if they really are enemies? What if they're here for you?" Don't think, Judith." Nathan's eyes bore into hers, a challenging flame igniting between them. "This is where it begins. Be my ally." As if the universe was giving her a jolt, the figure outside the window shifted, moving closer and then abruptly disappearing into the shadows. Judith's heart raced, a mix of fear and reckless courage intertwining within her. She felt the weight of choices pressing down on her. Was she ready to dive into the unknown world unfolding before her? The power of change tingled at her fingertips, but the threat of danger loomed large. "Judith, is that a yes?" Nathan prompted, that intensity in his gaze mingling with anticipation. "Because once you step into that world, there's no turning back." The air crackled with possibilities. In that moment, she saw glimpses of a life she never imagined, a life filled with purpose, challenge, and perhaps even danger. The shadows outside seemed to pulse, as if beckoning her to step closer. But uncertainty lingered, gnawing at her. What if she was stepping into a trap? "Judith!" Nathan's urgency cut through her thoughts. "We're running out of time." A decision formed in her mind, ready to spill from her lips, but just then, the blaring sirens died down. There was a chaos outside, and then there came a loud bang. A gunshot? Her heart raced again, this time with raw fear, as she locked eyes with Nathan. "What now?" she whispered, the moment frozen in disbelief. Nathan gripped her arm, determination returning to his stance. "We're in this together. Don't hesitate." And in that electric moment, the magnitude of her choice sank in deeper than she ever expected. Would she have the courage to follow him? Time was slipping away, and the shadows were closing in fast. Judith's heartbeat echoed in her ears, drowning out the sound of the city outside, though the chaos loomed large. With Nathan's grip firm on her arm, the warmth of his presence sent a reminder of her reality crashing in. With the gunshot still ringing in her mind like a warning bell, she felt herself teetering on the edge of a decision that could change everything. "Judith, focus." Nathan's voice snapped her back as he turned, his face a mask of urgency and pressure. We don't have time. We're going to the back exit. It's the only way out. Out? Are you serious? Panic surged again as she glanced at the window, thinking of the figure hiding in the shadows. What if they're waiting for us? What if there are more of them? Then we'll have to be quick, Nathan replied sharply, a determination snaking through his words that made her heart tighten. This is not a game. They're not just coming for me. They come for you too, once they realize you're involved. His eyes darkened, and she saw a flicker of fear beneath the bravado. Suddenly, the stakes mounted higher, and the threats felt tangible like black tendrils wrapping around her throat. Are you really sure I can help with this? I mean, maybe we should just go to the police. The suggestion fell flat. Nathan's tightening expression made it clear that was not an option. Anyone in uniform won't protect you from this, he asserted, pulling her toward the door by the back wall. The chaotic noise from outside built into a frantic crescendo, sirens wailing like banshees, punctuated by more gunfire. The air seemed thick with threats, swirling around them like an ominous fog. Judith hesitated, every bone in her body screaming to escape the New York night. But as he moved her forward, she felt something shift. The intoxicating possibility of a life not bound by normalcy pulled at her. What if we fail? What if we get hurt? She breathed, fear clawing at her voice. Then we deal with it, Nathan declared, that fire returning to his tone. But we need to act. Follow my lead, and whatever happens, just stay close. With that, he surged ahead, and for a brief second, Judith felt the grip of adventure take hold. She bolted after him, adrenaline coursing through her veins. They slipped through the back door, into a narrow alley illuminated by flickering streetlights and the silvery glow of the moon. The night was deafening now. A haunting mix of distant shouts and the roar of engines from passing cars echoed in the corridors of her mind. Where do we go? She asked swiftly, glancing anxiously around the alley. Nathan pulled out his phone again, flicking through an array of numbers furiously. I'll summon help. We need to get somewhere safe. His brow glistened with tension and urgency. What if they track us? Judith's voice trembled, the fear of being hunted nagging at the edge of her consciousness. They won, Nathan asserted. He typed another message, and, just as he did, a shadow blinked at the edge of the alley, a fleeting figure lurking behind a dumpster. Her heart stopped. That familiar chill washed over her again. Judith, they're closer than we thought. His voice dropped, urgency palpable. We need to move. Now. Without another word, they dashed further into the maze of side streets, weaving between trash cans and dimly lit corners, the fear pulling them along even as the city seemed to close in around them. Every corner could hide danger, every shadow a looming threat. Yet, something else flickered in Judith's mind, a wild pulse of intrigue. She felt alive, and with Nathan beside her, there was a strange, electric connection igniting between terror and exhilaration. But before she could explore what that meant, Nathan stopped, his body going rigid. We're not alone, he whispered, a note of alarm coloring his tone. Just then, from behind the dumpster, they saw a glint of metal. A dark figure emerged, and the moment hung in the air, thick with dread and confrontation. What do we do? Judith breathed, her body taut, every instinct screaming at her. As the figure stepped closer, their identity became clearer. Judith's heart plummeted as recognition washed over her. Stay behind me, Nathan instructed, stepping into the light, fear radiating. Let us see if we can talk our way out of this. Judith's chest tightened. What if talk wasn't an option? The moment hung heavy, and her breath caught, the realization sinking in deeper than she expected. This encounter could change everything, and she held her breath, unprepared for what was about to unfold. Was this figure the help they needed, or the beginning of a far greater nightmare? The figure stepped into the light, and Judith's blood ran cold. Before her stood a man she never thought she'd see again, Dominic, the head of the company where she worked for just a brief time before the layoffs. Memories of his ruthless ambition flooded back, and she instinctively pressed closer to Nathan, questioning their chances against an adversary who once commanded fear. Judith, Dominic drawled, a smirk twisting his lips. "What a surprise to find you here. And with him, no less." His eyes glinted with something sinister as he leaned against the wall, his arms crossed defiantly. Nathan's stance shifted, protective. "You don't want to do this, Dominic. We don't have any issues with you." "I think you do," Dominic replied, his voice smooth but laced with a sharp edge. "Your presence here tells me otherwise. You've already crossed the line. Now, it's just a matter of how many more before this night is over." Judith's anxiety heightened. The weight of her choices settled heavily on her shoulders. "What do you want?" she stammered, searching for any trace of the man she thought she knew. "This is insane. Just let us go." Dominic laughed, the sound unsettling in the quiet alley. "Go." "Judith, sweetheart, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you, Nathan, well, let us just say you've stirred up some trouble." He stepped forward, the confidence radiating from him palpable. "But trouble can be negotiated." "What are you saying?" Nathan's voice was low, dangerous. "A simple deal," Dominic offered, his gaze flickering between them. "You give me what I want, and I'll ensure you both walk away from this unscathed." He paused, leaning in slightly as if sharing a secret. "Protocols can be bent, but I need you to cooperate." Judith's gut twisted. The fear that clawed at her was hot and consuming. "What do you mean, what do you want from me?" "Information," Dominic said, his tone now serious. "I need the data you've been privy to. You think I don't know you Haven T taken all of it with you?" He gestured dismissively. "An Excel sheet here, a document there. You know something, I need to stay ahead." Judith's heart raced. She couldn't give him anything. That's not possible. It's against everything. He cut her off, his eyes narrowing. "Everything? You really think your morals matter now? You're not just in this for yourself anymore. You've got Nathan's life in your hands too, and if you think I'm playing, you've got another thing coming. Think of your future, Judith," he continued, a menacing grin creeping across his face. "Or rather, think of the future I can give you. You'll have a place in the new order once you help me. No more struggling to make ends meet. You could have more than what you've ever dreamed." An icy realization washed over Judith. Was she actually debating her fate with this man? The possibility of escape, tinged with the burden of survival, made her stomach churn. Nathan moved closer, his voice a fierce whisper. "Judith, don't even think about it. We can't trust him." Dominic remained unfazed, his intense satisfaction unfurling as he watched their unease. "You're already in too deep. The choice is there, but so very narrow," he mused, leaning back into the shadows, savoring their conflict. "Either you play ball, and I save you, or it's game over. Both of you." Judith felt the walls closing in. The weight of Nathan's hand on her shoulder gave her a sliver of strength, but the stakes rose impossibly high. What if betrayals shadowed every fate they faced? The complicity of fear, betrayal, and a desperate desire for security was more consuming than she'd ever anticipated. "Choose wisely," Dominic warned, stepping back into the dark recesses of the alley. His presence felt like an ominous shadow lingering. Judith's mind raced. What path could lead them out of this storm? The tension crackled in the air, threatening to draw her under if she let it. "Nathan," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What do we do?" As she awaited his response, time felt like quicksand slipping through her fingers. Would they sink, or could they claw their way back to solid ground? The looming figure remained as a dark reminder above them, steadfast and calculating. She had to make a choice that could save them both or bury them alive. But as dominion lay heavy on her chest, her mind drummed a question she couldn't shake. Was there a way out that didn't involve devouring her own soul? Judith's heart thudded painfully heavy in her chest as she waited for Nathan's reply. Dominic had receded into the dark, leaving behind a dense tension that felt palpable, like fog settling heavily around them. She wanted to scream, to run far away from all this, yet all she could do was stand frozen in place, grappling with the dread of her next words. "Judith," Nathan finally said, his deep voice cutting through the silence. His eyes were fierce, unwavering. "We can't trust him. Holding on to that data is all we have. Giving him anything could put us both in danger." That's easy for you to say. She shot back, the rising panic making her tone sharper than she intended. She glanced back where Dominic had disappeared. What if he decides he doesn't want to negotiate anymore? We'll be trapped, or worse. Forcing you to choose between us is just part of his game. If we stand together, we can outsmart him, Nathan insisted, squeezing her shoulder. The warmth of his touch sent a thread of comfort through her, although anxiety still seeped into her every thought. Outsmarting Dominic is like trying to outrun a forest fire, Judith replied, her voice trembling. He'll burn everything in his way to get what he wants. You don't know what he is capable of. Before Nathan could respond, the silence was fractured by a low, mocking laugh echoing from the darkness. Dominic had returned, his figure once again illuminated by a nearby, flickering streetlight. I love the enthusiasm in this little pep talk, he taunted, his fingers tapping casually against the wall. But you're forgetting one vital part. 1v played this game a lot longer. As he spoke, Judith felt her stomach twist. She could see the confidence in his posture, the smug arrogance cloaking him like a second skin. It made her skin crawl. Here's the thing, he continued, stepping back into their space, his voice smooth as silk. I can make all your problems disappear, but I won't wait forever. My client could lose patience. Your client? Nathan interjected, suspicion etched across his features. Who are you working for? Dominic's eyes glimmered with amusement. You think names make a difference at this point? We both know it's about power, and my connections run deeper than you could ever imagine. Judith's resolve began to waver. Was there another way? She could almost hear her heartbeat thrumming in her ears, drowning out the rest of the world. The memories of long nights spent studying endless spreadsheets piled up in her mind every late hour, every drop of sweat she spilled to save a company that hadn't cared about her. I want to give you anything unless you can prove you'll protect us, she said finally, surprising herself. The words came out stronger than she felt. Dominic studied her, revealing nothing. Protect you? He echoed, leaning in as if savoring the challenge. You think I'm just going to let this go? You imply either way I gain something or I lose. I find that interesting. And then Judith could almost see the gears turning in his brain. What if I throw in a little extra? He proposed, his smile widening. Money, connections, maybe even a little power of your own. All to get what I want. Her skin prickled with unease. This wasn't just about data anymore. It was about her own morals, about what she could become if she took his deal. I can't, she whispered. Can't or 1T. He countered. The challenge was there, in his tone. You know what happens when you end up on the wrong side of the board, don't you? That lingering threat hung thick in the air. She could feel it closing in on her. Suddenly, the alley felt much smaller, the shadows creeping closer, curling around her like vines choking the life from a once vibrant flower. Judith turned to Nathan, desperation creeping across her features. We need a plan. What if he decides to force us? Then we fight back, Nathan said firmly, his resolve lighting a spark in her. They were left with no choices, no easy way out. Dominic's gaze slid between them with a laser focus. Let me remind you there's always a way. Just be careful how you play this. Last chance, what will it be? Judith felt herself teetering on the edge of a precipice. The choices were dire, the future uncertain. Just how far would she be willing to go to save both Nathan and herself? Think fast. Lovebird's time is a luxury you no longer have. As the haunting echo of his laughter faded, Judith knew it was just the beginning. What would they do next? Would she find a way to turn the tide against this terrifying force? The night wasn't done with them yet, and neither was Dominic. Judith's mind raced, a whirlwind of fear and confusion. She glanced at Nathan. His jaw was set, determined, yet she could see uncertainty bubbling just beneath the surface. The alley had shrunk around them, the darkness pressing in like thick smoke. Dominic's last words echoed in her head. A warning and a taunt rolled into one. What now? Judith whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Nathan's grip tightened on her shoulder. We don't have much time. We have to find a way to turn this to our advantage. If we're quick and smart. Smart how? She interrupted. The walls felt like they were closing in, and she fought against the rising tide of despair. What do we even have left? It's his game, and we're just pawns. Not if we think outside the box, Nathan said, shifting into planning mode. Dominic threw down the gauntlet, and we need to be ready to pick it up. He wants leverage. We need to ensure we have our own leverage over him. Judith's heartbeat quickened. What do you suggest? Because I'm not signing anything he puts in front of me. Then don't. Instead, let's bait him. There's got to be something he wants that we can use. Think Judith. The company data, maybe he believes there's more to it than just numbers. She nodded slowly, rolling the idea around in her mind. So we lead him to think we'll give him what he wants, but really we'll be gathering information, Nathan said, a spark igniting in his eyes. While he's busy playing his part, we find out who his client is and what he knows. Judith felt a shiver run down her spine. It was risky, but they stood to learn what they were up against through Dominic. What if it backfires? She asked, her throat dry. That's the gamble, Nathan said, but I'd rather take a chance than be his prey. There was a weight in the air, a decision that needed to be made. Judith took a deep breath, locked eyes with Nathan. Okay, bait it is. The resolve settled over her like armor. Just then, the distant sounds of footfalls echoed, cold and haunting in the quiet alley. Judith's skin prickled as she turned to see silhouettes approach, emerging from the shadows. Her heart raced. 3 figures, dark and menacing. Looks like company, Nathan said, moving in front of her protectively. A chill ran through Judith as she recognized one of the silhouettes, the tall, imposing frame of Marco, Dominic's right-hand man, accompanied by 2 others who edged closer with a palpable menacing energy. Dominic sent us, Marco proclaimed, his voice smooth yet laced with an edge. He is curious about your little plan. What do you mean? Judith's voice trembled slightly, an involuntary response to the threat before them. He guess you try something useful, Marco replied, a smirk dancing on his lips. And now, he wants to ensure you play by his rules. Judith's throat went dry as she noticed the glint of something shiny in Marco's pocket. It wasn't just fear that surged through her. It was a sense of screaming urgency. Nathan whispered, "We need to get out of here now." Judith felt frozen, caught in the web that Dominic wove tighter around her. "Not so fast," Marco quipped, glancing behind him at the 2 goons. "You have something we want, and Dominic doesn't like waiting. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be." Judith could feel her pulse pounding loudly in her ears, drowning out the creeping terror. She scanned the space, searching for an escape route, for anything that could help her and Nathan avoid whatever fate Dominic had planned for them. "Now what?" she hissed, desperation bleeding into her tone. But Nathan's expression had shifted into an intense focus. "We have to act, Judith. It's showtime." Before she could protest, he shifted toward the shadows, preparing to make a run for it. Judith followed instinctively, her instincts flaring this was the only way out, even if it led straight into the lion's den. The moment they turned to flee, the world cracked open around them as Marco shouted, "Get back here! You can't escape!" As they sped down the alley, heartbeats synchronized into a wild rhythm of adrenaline. Judith couldn't shake the feeling that they were only stepping deeper into the trap. Would they uncover the truth before it was too late? And more ominously, what exactly did Dominic have in store for them? With the night closing in like a predator, Judith felt the grip of destiny pulling her onto a path she could neither understand nor control. The stakes had just gone up, and the game was only beginning. Judith's mind raced, her thoughts tangled together as she and Nathan fled into the oppressive shadows. Every footfall echoed like a gunshot, pounding in time with their frantic hearts. She could hear Marco's men behind them, their heavy breathing mingling with the distant sounds of the city, creating a symphony of impending doom. "Keep moving." Nathan's voice broke through her thoughts, urging her on. "We have to find a place to hide." The alley twisted like a maze, and Judith felt the walls closing in tighter, narrow, suffocating, as if the darkness itself wanted to swallow them whole. They darted around a corner, hearts racing, breathless, desperate. Ahead, a flickering neon light, caught Nathan's attention. Over there, he pointed toward the dimly lit entrance of a small convenience store. The sign buzzed erratically, casting an eerie glow outside. They slipped inside. The abrupt change from the cold night air to the cramped warmth of the store felt surreal. The aisles were narrow, and the shelves packed high with snacks and drinks. Judith forced herself to breathe, her chest tight with fear. Nathan pressed his back against the register, gesturing for her to do the same. "If they come and we can't stay here," Judith whispered urgently. "What if they're waiting outside?" "We need a plan," Nathan said, locking eyes with her, his expression focused. "Think, Judith. What's our move?" From outside, the murmur of voices floated in through the cracked door. Judith could feel the tension swell, thick and suffocating. Her mind whirred, searching for any thread of hope or idea that could save them. "Maybe we can leverage the security footage," she blurted. "If we can convince him we'll give him something from the data, maybe Dominic already knows we're onto him." "He won't fall for it," Nathan interrupted, his voice low but insistent. The voices outside grew louder, and Judith's heart raced once more. She glanced toward the front window, trying to gauge how close Marco and the others were. She could see shadows, but not their faces. "Judith, focus. We need a distraction," Nathan murmured, the gears in his mind turning rapidly. "What's around that we can use?" Before she could respond, an idea struck her. "The fire alarm. They'll have to evacuate." "Are you crazy?" Nathan replied, eyes wide. "You'd put everyone in danger." "It's just a distraction," she insisted. "It'll give us time to get out the back." He hesitated, weighing the consequences, but the urgency in her voice lit a fire in him. "Okay, let us do it." They crept toward the back of the store, the faint beeping of a register and the distant chatter outside fading into the background. Judith's heart pounded as she positioned herself near the emergency exit. Nathan moved to the fire alarm, glancing back at her for a brief moment of affirmation. "Now," he whispered, reaching up to pull the lever down. A deafening wail erupted, cutting through the air like a knife, the shrill sound jolting Judith. It was pure chaos. She could hear shouts outside and the clattering of footsteps rushing toward the exits. People began pushing their way out, and the shop owner yelled for everyone to evacuate. "Let us go." Nathan tugged her hand, pulling her through the door before the panic could take hold. They burst out into the alleyway, the cold night air slapping their faces. Judith looked back to see the store filling with people, confusion etched on their faces. But their momentary distraction wasn't just a lifeline for them. It also stirred the shadows looming over them. Just as they maneuvered around the corner, a figure stepped out from behind a dumpster Marco, his eyes glinting with rage. "Did you really think you could escape?" he sneered. Judith's heart plummeted as the world around her spun into chaos once again. Nathan pushed her to the side, ready to stand his ground. "We've got nowhere to run." A surge of adrenaline took over as Judith's mind raced. The darkness outside erupted with the sound of shouting cops or more goons. Before she could decide, a raw instinct kicked in like a fire in her belly. "Wait," she shouted, hoping to catch Marco off guard. "What if we struck a deal?" The smirk on Marco's face faltered, interest flickering in his eyes. "I'm listening." What had she just unleashed? A new gamble on a table already destined for disaster. As the stakes climbed higher, Judith could only hope they didn't step into a trap more dangerous than the one they tried to escape. What was Marco truly after? And would they find a way to turn their fear into an advantage? Or would they be trapped once more? Marco shifted closer, a predatory glint in his eyes. The alley felt smaller, the darkness closing in around them like a tightening vice. Judith's heart raced, the adrenaline pumping through her veins. This was no longer just about survival. They were stepping onto a treacherous chessboard where every move could cost them dearly. "What do you have in mind?" Marco's voice was smooth, but there was an edge to it like the blade of a knife just beneath the surface. "Information," Judith blurted out, try to keep her voice steady. "We know things. Things about Dominic, about the shipment." Nathan's eyes widened in shock. He'd been ready to fight, but now she had thrown a lifeline. She could see the internal struggle in his expression, torn between loyalty and fear. Marco regarded them with a calculating look. Go on. Judith swallowed hard, the lump in her throat heavy. We can offer you details about the shipment routes. The police have been tipped off, and if you want to protect your interests, you need to know what's the catch. Marco interrupted, a scowl forming. No catch. Just a simple understanding, Judith said quickly. Let us go, and we'll give you everything you need. You'll have the advantage. The silence stretched as Marco seemed to weigh her words. For a moment, Judith thought she saw a flicker of interest, but then a deeper shadow crossed his face. And why would I trust you? Because if you don't, Nathan interjected, stepping forward defiantly, then you risk losing everything. We know who you deal with. We know their faces. Judith shot Nathan an incredulous look. She could feel the heat of Marco's anger radiating off him, could sense the tension tightening like a bowstring ready to snap, that Marco's lips twisted into a smirk again. But it was colder, devoid of warmth. You think you're in a position to negotiate, don't you? You're just two scared little mice running from the cat. Judith glanced back at the alley entrance. They were trapped, but she couldn't let fear dictate their fate. We can help you undermine Dominic, she pressed, trying to guide the conversation back. Send a message. We can be your eyes on the inside. How do I know you won't just run straight to the police the moment I turn my back? Marco asked, crossing his arms as if that could shield him from an impending threat. Because we don't want to die, Nathan shot back, urgency lacing his tone. If we go to the cops now, we'll end up in the same hell. We need a way out. If you don't trust us now, you won't ever. For a moment, silence enveloped them, thick as fog, and Judith felt the weight of their lives hanging on the edge of Marco's decision. She could hear the distant wail of sirens growing nearer. The night itself seemed to hold its breath. All right, Marco finally said, his smirk returning but with a darker edge. You have my attention. But if you waste my time, we won't. Judith promised, her heart racing as the gravity of their gamble crashed down on her. Good, Marco sneered. Then let us talk details. As Judith began to spill what they knew, every word felt like a thread weaving together new and dangerous paths ahead. But at what cost? Each revelation was like a knife to her conscience, and she knew deep down that even if they managed to escape Marco's grasp, there was no guarantee they wouldn't end up in deeper danger. Suddenly, a shout rang out from the entrance. Echoing through the alley, a group of men rushing toward them, shoving their way through the chaos and flickering haze. Marco's expression morphed into fury. Looks like the cavalry arrived a little too late. Time is up. In that instant, Judith's heart dropped as she realized the truth. This wasn't just a game anymore. They were racing against the clock, and if they didn't act fast, everything would collapse around them. Run, Nathan yelled, grabbing Judith's arm, pulling her away as the world exploded into chaos around them. With their escape slipping away the more they spun into this twisted mess, Judith couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal lingering in the air. Where would this chaotic path lead them? Next, as they dashed deeper into the shadows, a chilling thought took root: what secrets lay in store? And would they be able to survive the storm they had just unleashed? The chaos unfurled around them like a wild storm unleashed, whipping up the air with a biting urgency. Nathan dragged Judith through the fractured alley, their hearts pounding in sync with their reckless flight. Shadows loomed large. Every crack of a footstep behind felt like an executioner's knock, a reminder of the unforgiving danger stalking them. Breathless and terrified, they ducked behind a dumpster, their bodies pressed tight against the cold, hard steel. Judith's heart thrummed wildly. Sirens wailed in the distance, piercing the night air, a blaring alarm that echoed her spiraling thoughts. What they unleashed with their desperate bargain? How far do you think they'll chase us? She gasped. Every inhale burned in her lungs, and the stench of garbage filled her senses. They'll follow us until they corner us, Nathan replied, determination laced in his voice. But we have a chance, a narrow one. If we can get to my car, we might shake them. His eyes held a fierce glint, igniting a spark of courage within her, a flicker that pushed the darkness back, even momentarily. We need to distract them. Slow them down, Judith suggested, the thought pulsating in her mind like a beacon. If we can set off some noise, maybe it will draw them away. Right? Nathan nodded. Use your phone. Message someone, maybe a friend, to cause a scene. Speed bumps, anything to shift their attention. Judith fumbled for her phone, but hesitated, heart racing. Who could she trust in a moment like this? Every connection felt distant. Shadows of once friendly faces fleeted through her mind, but she settled on one. She sent a quick message, typing as fast as she could. Need your help. Set off car alarms. Distract them, please. She hit send and felt a surge of hope. What if this worked? A loud shout erupted from the entrance of the alley. Marco's voice echoed through the narrow space. They're here. They can't have gotten far. Panic surged as she could see shadows moving closer, figures breaking through the light. Now, Nathan urged, grabbing her hand. They darted away from their hiding spot, dodging between buildings, weaving through patches of light and shadow until they found an exit onto a main street. The pulse of the city throbbed with unexpected energy. Judith's heart raced. Just ahead, a car sat with its headlights streaming into the night, illuminating their escape route. That's my car. Nathan pointed, but the sight ignited an overwhelming fear. What if it's locked? She panted. Then we'll work on the window. Nathan grinned fiercely, his tenacity flooding her with strength. As they sprinted, Judith could feel a rush of adrenaline, a thrilling current that mixed with the fear clawing at every corner of her mind. They reached the car just as a voice called from behind. Stop right there. Nathan yanked the car's door handle, and it opened, a miracle from the universe. Get in, he shouted, and they dove in just as a figure emerged from the shadows. Inside, the air was suffocating, both with fear and the warmth of Nathan's presence. He turned the key in the ignition, the engine roaring to life, a sound that heightened her senses even more. As they peeled away from the curb, she glanced in the rearview mirror to see Marco's furious expression lost in the distance, seething in the chaos of the night. Judith's breathing slowed. They had actually escaped. The ride began to feel less frantic, the tension taut but manageable. What now? She asked, her voice steadying. Now we regroup, Nathan replied, determination lining his features. We'll intercept Dominic. This isn't over. Judith's heart sank, but at the same time, there was a flicker of hope. She felt alive in a way she hadn't in ages. What's the plan? She pressed. We'll expose him. We need to use what we have, find allies, leverage that insider information we've acquired. Dominic's power is built on manipulation. We can turn that tide. She nodded, invigorated by his resolve. Keeping her eyes locked on the horizon ahead, she caught her breath. From a lonely apartment on Valentine South Day to this drive a twisting path of danger and determination. It was surreal, but it felt like the raw edge of freedom. Let us go, she said, adrenaline humming in her veins. As they drove into the night, with shadows settling around them, Judith looked to Nathan and smiled, a spark lighting in her heart. Together, they were no longer running. They were embarking on a wild journey to reclaim their lives, their power, and perhaps something that felt even more potent than survival, a chance to rewrite their narratives. As Judith settled into the seat, a sense of purpose flared. They would face whatever came next together. This was their battle. This was their moment. Where we end, not at the finish line, but at the precipice of something great. Because remember, there's always a story waiting to unfold. You need to subscribe now, join our adventures, and be part of this amazing community. Smash that like button now to support us and feed the algorithm. And don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see how this thrilling chapter ends. Flood the comments section with your reactions, predictions, and thoughts. Your ideas matter. This is the moment to show your support, and together we can continue to bring you exclusive stories that captivate your imagination.